Water levels are often the scariest environments in video games when pulled off right. They can induce our primal fears, claustrophobia, open spaces, drowning, and the sensation of feeling defenseless against whatever may lie in wait ahead. In this video, we take a look at the scariest video game water levels and creatures found within them. We begin this underwater rundown of all things spooky with a Mario game? For younger viewers this may seem odd, but a certain moment in Super Mario 64 terrified many gamers during the late 90s. Mario enters an aquatic realm known as Jolly Roger Bay. Upon diving into the bay and swimming all the way to the sea floor, Mario notices a giant eel poking out of a hole in the wall. This terrifying giant eel then proceeds to try and eat Mario, who must attempt to retrieve one of the game's numerous stars from its tail. The giant underwater creature was one of the most reported video game terrors of its time, and for good reason. Tomb Raider has a history of creepy underwater moments. The most recent release, Shadow of a Tomb Raider, managed to reintroduce the terror of the deep with extended sequences of underwater peril involving drowning and fish attacks. However, nothing in this series compares to a level in one of the oldest games, Tomb Raider 2. Lara is investigating a shipwreck site deep beneath the ocean's surface. It is almost perfectly silent at this depth, and everything is pitch black. Lara must move quickly so she doesn't drown, and also watch for a deadly shark patrolling the area. It's a highly claustrophobic and anxiety-ridden opening to one of the scariest video game levels of its time. Why are Sonic the Hedgehog's water levels so darn scary? Specifically those found within the original 2D games. Well, this time it's not due to them featuring scary enemies or being particularly creepy in design. Rather, it's the fear of drowning that really makes levels such as Labyrinth Zone seen here so tense and uncomfortable to play. As Sonic needs a constant supply of air when underwater, he must locate air pockets found around the stage. These are often spread far apart, and so any mistakes the player makes can result in a game over screen. The water keeps rising, so there's no time to stop and take stock of your situation. Couple that with this nerve-wracking countdown music, and you have a recipe for some truly scary moments. It's hard to pinpoint one overtly scary moment in Bioshock. The entire game is basically one big creepy water level. Set at the bottom of the ocean, Bioshock is the story of an ambitious underwater civilization known as Rapture, built on the crooked ideals of one man, Andrew Ryan. The people inside this flooded underwater kingdom have been twisted and deformed by a drug known as Adam, which grants them a range of supernatural powers. Perhaps the scariest of all are the hulking giants known as Big Daddies, who protect the children of the city, the Little Sisters. One thing is for sure, you'll encounter a number of terrifying moments throughout your time in Rapture, but it's the overbearing atmosphere and terror of being trapped on the ocean floor that makes Bioshock so haunting.
It's alright. I know he'll be an angel soon.
Playdead's dark and mysterious adventure game Inside easily earns a place on this scariest water levels rundown, with a sequence involving a nymph-like girl who attempts to drown the player as they try to survive a series of underwater set pieces. In Inside, we play the role of a young boy lost in a cruel dystopian future where governments have enslaved the world's population. This water nymph is one of many horrific experiments we encounter throughout our adventure. Each time we run into this hellish water baby, she comes one step closer to catching us, before eventually, during a shocking cutscene, the boy is snatched into the depths below. Inside features many strange sights and sounds, both in and out of the water, but this particular underwater sequence is certainly one of the most memorable and terrifying. Being one of the first truly 3D first-person shooters meant that Half-Life pushed the boundaries for what gamers expected to see from their PC monitors. Half-Life told the story of a young scientist called Gordon Freeman, who after being involved in a freak experiment gone wrong, was thrust into a living nightmare featuring an alien invasion and government cleanup with orders to exterminate all life inside the facility. Outside of being one of the greatest games of its time, Half-Life was also pretty scary. One of the scariest moments of all comes in the form of this water monster attack. Gordon must navigate across a treacherous flooded area housing a giant alien fish. Upon reaching the cage hanging at the top of the room and retrieving the crossbow from within, the cage drops down. Now Gordon Freeman is trapped inside an underwater cage and must escape as a shark-like predator attempts to eat him alive. Not only is this sequence scary because of the giant alien lifeform trying to eat you, but what makes things extra tense is that if you don't defeat it quickly enough, your poor scientist will drown. Soma is a terrifying deep-sea adventure, following the story of a man named Simon trapped below the surface of the ocean in an abandoned facility full of killer robots who still believe they are human. However, while the facility itself is scary to explore, things get really eerie when Simon is tasked with stepping outside in his diver suit and navigating through the murky depths of the unknown ocean. Visibility is low and strange noises can be heard in the distance. Sharks can often be seen swimming above, and the player feels vulnerable from attacks in all directions. Not to mention, things aren't made easy in terms of getting from point A to B. It's easy to get lost in the darkness while exploring, and dangers still do exist in the form of angry robotic drones and bottomless pitfalls. Many people find Shadow of the Colossus to be a particularly haunting game experience. From the oppressive open world that is almost silent and void of life, to the sad story of a man trying to save his sister by defeating a number of colossal beasts and freeing the evil spirits trapped within them. The game is full of spooky moments and eerie atmospherics. However, in the interest of this video, we are focusing on one particular boss encounter, Colossi number 7, the HYDRUS. This giant eel first appears after our character leaps into a suspiciously quiet lake. The water is incredibly deep and dark, and we see electricity emitting from the spikes on the giant creature's back. As it swims around, we are tasked with approaching close enough to grab onto this horrifying creature in order to defeat it. Creepiest of all is when the HYDRUS drags the player deep underwater during the battle. We already featured sharks on this list, but nothing quite beats the shark encounter in the original Resident Evil. Well, aside from its remake, that is. First released on Nintendo GameCube, Resident Evil HD features some of the scariest video game moments of all time, and the shark attack is certainly one of the worst. After Jill and Chris discover a secret lab beneath the mansion's guardhouse, things seem a little off. It seems to be flooded. Of course, for catches, these rooms are full of killer sharks which the nefarious Umbrella Corporation were experimenting on with the dreaded T-virus. But it gets worse with the arrival of a giant shark that's head is bigger than the player alone. We only have a few seconds to escape this nightmarish creature and quickly electrocute it with a power unit. This has to be one of the most panic-inducing moments in modern gaming. Number 1 on the scariest water levels of all time list is without a doubt Amnesia: The Dark Descent. This is a game so scary that many people couldn't make it past this certain segment when it was originally released in 2010. As the player makes their way down into the depths of the castle keep, they discover a flooded cellar. Making their way through the claustrophobic hallways with only a lantern to light their way is creepy enough, but suddenly it is apparent we are not alone as footsteps begin chasing us through the water. This is scary because we can't actually see who or what is chasing us, only the sound of those heart-stopping footsteps sprinting toward us. Only by climbing out of the water is the player momentarily safe. A classic case of what you don't see often being scarier than what you do. And that's it for today's video. Please remember to give it a like if you did enjoy watching, and maybe drop a comment too, as well as subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you never miss an upload. This channel specializes in variety horror content, including creepypasta readings, horror gaming facts and theories, and general interest pop culture horror videos. So if you're interested in all things spooky, you'll find something to enjoy here at SuperHorrorBro. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.